And we're live.
Good.
So I'm with Kingdom of Truth. And for many of you that have already, oh, hold on, I got to pause. I got to mute this. I'm sorry. I never messed that up either. I never messed that up. And somehow I messed this one up.
It happens, Derek. It happens.
So we've got a good group in here already, Tevin, and I just wanted to say, everybody, this is Tevin from Kingdom of Truth. He has a very new channel on YouTube, and the things that he spoke about, I saw him comment on a few of my videos, and I usually try to take a look at other people's channels and what they're talking about. And when I saw what he was speaking about, and how he was speaking about it. Forget that he was saying the words, how. And that is what showed me where he's drawing it from. And where you draw these truths from is truly remarkable, because that's how you recognize Christ in somebody else. You recognize Christ in somebody else because it's essentially they're speaking the exact same truth, the exact same words, and you can speak it. And you couldn't possibly, Tevin, you couldn't watch my channel enough and have those truths so fluently without it already being within you. And so once you're opened up, once your mind has seen these things, once your body and your DNA, your spiritual DNA releases yourself to these. And this is why, people, my detractors hate it when I say empty your cup, right? But you're supposed to empty yourself, and that's so you can be filled, right? So if you have to empty yourself, why would you have to empty yourself? Right? You empty yourself because you're filled with the world and the preconceived ideas that the world has sold you. And so
Exactly.
you and I were just talking before the show started, and marveling at how people can't see what we're saying in Christ's words. And I was giving you the understanding that the Christians that are being persecuted, that they're not going to their church and being spat upon and being threatened on a daily basis like I am, or like you are from your family as you're starting to receive. They're not being persecuted. So you have to automatically wonder and ask them, well, if Christ promised that you would have persecution, why don't you? And anybody that speaks these things that we speak are persecuted. The Christians in Ethiopia are very different Christians than here in the West. They are speaking the exact same things. And what that is that Satan runs this world. He is the God of this world. He is the creator of so much of these things in this world, because he takes what the Father has made and distorts it. So the illusions, the perceptions, all of the self-perceived understandings that you have, everything that the church is selling you has become this divisive and a complete misrepresentation of what Christ said. Otherwise, you would be going to church and facing water balloons or acid attacks or something else. You'd be attacked.
Yes, sir.
So
Yep.
so why don't you first give a little bit of background, if you would, tell us where you come from. Everybody keeps asking me, where's he from? I love his accent. So tell me, tell everybody where you're from, when you came here to the States, and when you started to see these truths. Kind of give a background on your world from a Christianity standpoint, because I could tell you the funny thing is that there are a few places in the world that people have contacted me from, and they're tribal folks. And there's a group from Jamaica that they are the tribe of Judah. They're like, we're of Judah. And so all of these different people that have these identities, and all of them watch my channel, and they have these groups. So these tribal groups that gather around the only PC in town with the only internet connection and watch my channel on a daily basis. So just give a little bit of idea where you come from, because I believe there's going to be something to glean from that.
Okay. First off, I was born and raised in the Bahamas. Everybody, I'm from the Bahamas. We have 700 islands. I'm from Nassau. That's the capital of the Bahamas. And in the Bahamas, we are also big on religion, but we also have different religions. We have Muslims, we have Buddhists, we have multiple religions in the Bahamas. So me personally, I was raised in a Catholic church at a young age, and then I gradually went over into a Baptist because of my parents, my mom and my dad. And in that time in my life, I'm 26 years old right now. And as I was about, say, 16, 17, something just came to me, and this spirit that came over me, and I felt this energy, and it just didn't feel right. So I literally thought that something was wrong with me. And then all of a sudden I just started to see things differently, just started to see people differently, the world differently. And I started to notice certain things that people wouldn't notice, and I started to question certain things that people don't question. And as I continue to grow up inside the Christian church, as I see my mom, she goes to church every Sunday. She attends the meetings, she attends the prayer meetings, everything. But when she's outside of the church, I notice she's still stressed, she's still worried, certain the bills still coming, certain things still happening. And then I looked out the output that she put into these churches and into these systems. She donate money, she appears to every meeting, she appears to every prayer meeting, and I'm looking at what she's putting out, but I'm not seeing nothing that she was getting back, So I kind of questioned that. And as I continue to question that, we had a little conversation, and then because it was for me questioning it, I always was bombarded with, you should not question God, If you question God, you're gonna go to hell. You're gonna go to hell. So my thing is that, how will I know without asking questions? That's how we learn in life. So if you guys are praising the God and I cannot question it, how will I ever know who I am and what I am? So that means that I have to always go to a man or a female that's on the pulpit for them to tell me my identity, for them to tell me who the Father is and what not to do and what to do. Why can't I have a direct conversation with the Father? And as I keep asking these questions, they shut me down, shut me down, shut me down. So I was like, okay. Now, as I go more into the church system, I find that I saw that when you have people in depression, and this is the funny thing, Derek, and this is what I have noticed these pastors and the Christians today do. They know the system people is going with when it comes to bills. Everybody has bills. Everybody got car payment. Majority of people have house payment. They know these stuff. So to trick you and to get you into these things, they will come to you with the simple stuff. It's clearly common sense. So when they go up on the podium, they're like, okay, I know somebody car insurance coming up. You're going to get a new job. We all are suffering from these things every single day. You understand me? So I actually started to question that. And as I questioned that, I got deeper. Things just wasn't adding up. And then I find out as they threaten me about hell, I see people dying on the side of me every day, I knew one of my friends, he actually was in a car accident, guys, and he died with the engine caught on fire, and he burned. I watched my friend burn, and nobody could have helped it. So if I am going to hell and burn, I just saw my best friend burn in a car accident. So all of this was just confusing me until one day I actually went home and I sit down and I actually cried, and I was like, Father, I do not understand this, I was brought up this way. I'm searching for you, and the churches had me searching for this physical person, this man, as long as I put my hand up and accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, then I'm good. But even when I said that, nothing happens. When I go up to the pulpit and the pastor rests his hand on me and pray for me, and if I'm sick, there is no healing. There's nothing happening. So I started to question. I was like, hold on, something cannot be right. Every time I try to search for the Father, there's always a brick wall, always a brick wall, always a brick wall. And I came to find out, Derek, when it comes to certain information, when it comes to on the internet, certain countries are prohibited from accessing certain information. So when I would search up certain things on the internet, I could not find it. So it kept me going round in a loop, and I was afraid to actually let anybody know how I feel, because I fear that judgment, I fear that they would have been like, you're crazy, something's wrong with you, So I always kept that in, until I came over here. I came over here in last year, March. And I had some downtime because I recently got married in last year, April, ladies and gentlemen, you know. So as I was here trying to get everything sorted out, I took that downtime to actually go within, you know. And as I continue to meditate with myself and I continue to read in the religions that my parents told me to stay away from, I actually went to them, you know. The things that they told me were evil, I actually read into them. And the more I read into them, the more I grow understanding about the Bible. I learned that there are scriptures that predate the Bible. I learned that there are scriptures that they went through hell just to burn and destroy so that we won't get it. And coming here to America, I was open to a new and more source of information. And it just keep flowing and just keep flowing. And it started to connect, started to connect. And as I read and I read to understand, and one day and I tell you not, Derek, I was in the bathroom, I was taking a bath, and as I come out of the room and I went down and I laid down, there was a still voice, and it came to me, and it told me that I was always with you from every single thing you went through in life. I was always there. Just come inside. And I thought that I was literally freaking out, you know, and it's like, you know what? All you have to do is say yes and accept this. That's all you have to do. And my eyes was closed, Derek, and I was just laying down, you know, and I couldn't move. My body was paralyzed, and I just was in my mind, you know, and I'm just hearing this. And as I stopped, and I just, you know what, Father, I'm tired of running. The tears came down my face. I submit myself to you. Let your will be done. Whatever it is, I'm here to do it. I tell you, not Derek, after that, just how we have these tablets and these phones and we have a invisible connection that we can't see, that information is getting transferred into these devices. I was open up to a new source of information and things just started to come to me, come to me, come to me. And I was like, wow, this can't be true. I never was taught this, and I kind of questioned it because it was so overwhelming and I didn't know who to let it out to, how to get it out. And then that's when I started searching. And then the Father led me to your channel. And when he led me to your channel, it's like, this man is actually saying every single thing that was revealed to me. And for word, every single thing that came out of your mouth, Derek, the Father told me himself. He led me to this information and gave me this information, and you were just confirmation. And that after that night that I watched you, I sat down in the dark inside my closet and I had a conversation with the Father, and I was like, okay, I saw the sign, I see it. And as I started to speak and as I started to go deeper, he started to reveal more, reveal more, reveal more. And then I have people would ask me, okay, Kingdom of Truth, where do you get this stuff from? To be honest, I cannot tell you about that place because that place is unseen. I feel it. I know that it's there because when I connect to it, it just starts flowing, but I cannot personally tell you where it is, how it looks. I only can tell you how it feels, you know, because after the information flows, that's the only thing that I feel. Now, I cannot literally tell you in the physical because it is not a physical place, you know. It's something, all I can say personally speaking, it is something just deep down inside of you. And when that part of you open, the flow is so amazing and so overwhelming, Derek. It gets to a point where I cannot literally feel my own heart beating. I am numb to this world. I cannot feel nothing, Derek. When I say my emotions are dead, it feels like something just takes over me and a part of me just open. And after I just gain this information, Derek, my knees get weak. I cannot stand up. My head started to hurt. My blood pressure rise. And I was like, wow, this flesh body that I'm in cannot withstand when the Father enter you. You understand me? And when you finish speaking, when I finish speaking and he leaves, my legs get weak. I cannot stand up. My head hurts. So I have to catch myself because after that, and after I watch myself, after I speak there, I cannot believe that some of the things that comes out of my mouth because half of them things there I did not read. These things did not come from a book. So it's like when the Father shows you the foundation, you read the foundation. And when it's time for you to speak, and this is why he said, do not worry what it is to speak when you go amongst them. The Holy Spirit will take power of you. I will tell you what to speak. I will take control of your tongue. You don't have to worry about what you got to speak. Just do what I ask you to do. And Derek, I am a witness. It happens. Every single time, Derek, it happens. Every single time. And the more I obey, the more I am rewarded, not in the flesh, but in the spirit. The more I obey the Father, the more he rewards me. You understand me? The more things he shows me, the more truth he gives me. And this is why I truly, and like I said, right now at my point of my stage and my part, Derek, when it comes to belief, I have something that is more stronger than just a belief. I know. Because when you know, you have authority and you walk in that authority, there is no guessing. I don't believe this isn't an if, ands, or but. No, I know. You understand me? So when you speak, I really don't care who don't listen, or I really don't care who don't follow, who have a problem. When I speak from that place. And when I speak from that place is authority. So it doesn't matter what nobody says, as long as the Father enter me, and it's going to come out there. And I kid you not, if I fight it, there's going to be consequences, because I've tried to fight it before, Derek. And fighting against the Father is not good. Because before
it's an exercise in futility. It's not going to help you, because you know you said that when you speak from it, that you speak from a place that you don't quite know the place, but that is, you know, then when you read in Scripture that the new temple will be built without hands, then you recognize when Christ says you are the temple, it's not your physical body, it's the spiritual temple. And just what you just said is that the intimacy that takes place, this is the bride and the bridegroom, because the spirit has the right side of the mind, the very feminine side. It's a caring, it's a nurturing. But as you said, you know, you mentioned a few things. First, speaking of becoming numb emotionally, to the flesh emotionally, not numb that you don't care and that you don't love. It's a very different caring and a very different love, because it's at a different location. It's not a caring and a love that's of this world. And it's difficult to explain to somebody until you've actually gone through it. And this is why you and I can have such an easy conversation. And every single thing I say, you'll emphasize on it. You'll be able to describe it exactly the way that I've experienced it. And this is that, and you know, and Christ saying that no one comes to the Father unless he draws them to him.
Yes.
That right there defies and defeats the entire basis of Christianity, right? So this is where people do not listen to Christ's words. That statement destroys what Christianity is today. That you go into a church and they say, oh, no, just come up here and say this and you've accepted Jesus into your heart. It's like, wait a minute. Do you think that he was a liar? Are you calling him a liar? Why do you do things that defy what he said at all costs? And then they'll respond to you with something Paul wrote in order to justify their understanding of that. But the thing is that intimacy that you're talking about, and many people will remember this, you know, when you talked about knowing, the one thing that I spoke about in my earlier videos, I said, in fact, in my very first Unmasked video, I said, I don't care what you believe. I only care what you know. Because knowing, now if you understand scripturally, knowing is intimate. Knowing is sex. Adam knew Eve and bore Cain, right?
Yep.
Adam knew it. The tree of knowing, right? This became the tree of the duality of this circumstance that we're in. The fall was man falling into this three-dimensional duality where male and female are now separate, which is why Christ also referred to the angels of heaven. You'll be like the angels of heaven, not given in marriage or being married. You won't be married because you're male and female. You're now androgynous. You have both of those elements within you.
Yep.
And so that's what takes place here. Inside of you, the kingdom inside of you is the male and female spirit rejoining, taking Eve and placing him back into Adam again. This is a rejoining spiritually. And that is what allowed you to be one with God, right? So one with the Father means you have to have your masculine and your feminine rejoined. And in that rejoining, when I hear you talk about it, I can hear the intimacy, which is why anything that deviates from that idea within you is sexual immorality. When you are not in both, you are committing sexual immorality. It's not a physical act. Again, removing everything from the physical world and making it spiritual. And once you get this, once you hear it, you begin to live it. There is no other way to live it. And that's why you know them by their fruits, right? Their fruits. And now people have also said, well, but it's not about works, right? So your works are your fruit. Now, that doesn't mean that you have a box to check off as far as the laws. Oh, yes, I obey this law. If you remember the parables, people coming up and saying, hey, what do we have to do to be righteous? And he said, obey all the commands, right? And he goes, this, and this, and he rattles them up. And he goes, I've done all of those since a boy. And then he says, sell all you have and follow me. And the man went away distraught because he had great wealth.
Yep, he wasn't ready to go.
So he had the boxes to check off. So that was also evidence that it's not about those works, because once we actually have these laws, we think the 10 commandments, then you start checking a box off. Okay, I don't kill somebody. I love the Lord with all my heart, mind, and soul. All of these things I've done. But it has nothing to do with that, because the works that you do in your life are the fruit, and it comes automatically when you're at where we're at. Right? It just happens. The fruit becomes your works become your fruit, and it's not something that you have to try to do. It just is who you have become, and that is why you will know them by their fruit. And that's why when I watch you and I can see your fruit, and you get to watch the fruit as you become the bread that people then can feed from. So your life becomes the bread as well.
Thank you.
My life has become bread. And as we've started to communicate, I've witnessed how people can get something from you that they don't get from me. And that they might hear something that you say that resonates, even though I might have said the exact same thing. It doesn't matter, right? I could say the exact same thing, but your sheep will hear your voice, right? This is what people, they need to understand, that once you are in Christ, there will be those that you redeem. This is a collective network. This is the body of Christ. That's how it functions. And I see that in you every single time. Now, I wanted to ask you a question. So how is this with you? You just said that you just got married. Congratulations. And how has that, how have these new truths impacted that?
It impacted it in a very, very amazing way. Why? Because me going in the front of somebody, this somebody is man, go in the front of man and saying that man has this authority to marry you. And you know how I was taught from I was young, how the marriage and everything go down and what happens in the marriage. Now walking in this truth, it was difficult, very difficult for me to actually go to my wife and sit down and tell her, we was taught to do this and that, but looking in what I've researched and what the Father's telling me, the way we went about this and the way we think is right. It's actually wrong. And it was mind blowing to her at first, because trying to get her to understand what I was saying, it took a while, Derek. It took a while for her to because she could say, you're changing, or but she was always open-minded, so it wasn't that hard to explain it to her. But it impacted my life tremendously, because I literally realized that what the path that the Father has me on is not correspondent with the life my flesh, what I thought was right and how I should live. And then that impact when it comes to the real understanding of you reproducing and having a child, that impacts you having sexual relations. It just shouted down every single thing, Derek, you know, and it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking because, you know, I always thought that, you know, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm gonna have all type of kids and this and that. But now to come to find out that how I was fooled to contribute to this doctrine of the God of this world. Blindly, you know, and walking into that truth and know that I was about to do something and commit something, it was heartbreaking there because nobody told me other than the Father. And to touch back on what you said, nobody can call you other than the Father. Nobody can come on to him and tell he's ready to come for you and tell he's ready to make himself known to you, you know? And people don't really get that. So if you could you elaborate on that a little bit, what does it mean for the Father to call you, and what does it mean that nobody comes on him until he calls you?
Yeah, now, and it's important that people know and understand that the Father calls you. Some he'll just call you even when you're not asking. And people go, well, how do I get the Father to call me? Make yourself available. And what making yourself available means, giving up, putting your hands out. I've got nothing. I don't even have an idea of what Christ is. I don't have an idea of who the Father is. I have no idea. I've thrown that all out. I'm forgetting about everything that I've ever been taught, told, or learned. I'm going to toss that. And once you toss it, don't try to fill it. He will come and fill that. And that's why I've always said empty in your cup. And, you know, anybody that says, you know, oh, he tells you to empty your cup. First of all, I'm not the first one to say empty your cup. That is an ancient Buddhist saying. So obviously, and it's an ancient Buddhist parable. But it is truly remarkable. In fact, the amazing thing is what you find is once you actually come into these truths, and then you go and you read Buddhist teachings, you realize that that much of what Christ was saying is very Buddhist in nature. And so this is why Buddhism isn't a religion, right? It's the only one out there that's not a religion. It doesn't have a doctrine. It's got wisdom. And the translation of that wisdom between each person that is within it is up to themselves and how they have. The ultimate of it is the peace that you have. And that's what you get when you understand the true words of Christ, is that when you forget about this world and you die to this flesh and you die to everything, nothing means anything. Nothing. I mean, everything could go away tomorrow. I could lose this trailer, lose this house. I could be thrown outside and laying on the ground by myself. And I'd be like, wow, Father, what you got next?
Yep. Yep.
What do you got next?
Yep. And people, they, I don't know what it is, but okay, my thing is, Derek, okay, how do you feel about this when it comes to the Father and when it comes to the God of this world? The Father, Christ specifically said that just as the Son gives light to the world, the Father gives light to his children. You understand me? The Son is the light of the world. When you really sit down and think of it, it is the light of the world. You know, this is what gives the light to the world. The energy. You know, this is the life force that the world. You know, it draws the energy from the sun. Now, I was always thought, like I told you, that I have to look up to this God who's in the heavens. Every time I prayed, I go on my knees, I go on the bed, and I put my hands together, and I pray to the God who is in heaven. This is what I did for like 21 years of my life, Derek. And I kid you not, the more I pray, the worse things get. And I was like, oh Lord, what am I not? I have to be doing something wrong. This can't be right. I'm going to church, I'm praying, I'm meditating. Why is all of these things happening to me? Like, Derek, like for a whole month straight, I had like negative things happening. I wasn't thinking negative. I was doing every single thing that I was taught, Derek. And as the more I prayed, the worse things got. Until I was like, you know what? I'm doing this and it's not working. Then you have a guy from another religion saying he has this God. You have another religion saying they have this God. So who is me to say that my God is correct, you know? Who is him or her to say that their God is correct? So I stand still, I was like, hold on. All of us in this circle, and we get this book, and we said, this is, if it ain't in here, I'm not going to believe it. If it ain't in here, hold on. Everybody, let's just calm down. We got to get to the bottom of this because someone is playing us. Because you said you got it. I said I got it. She said she got it. All, you know, like, this is not right. We all have different cultures. We have different language. But we all say that we are not worshiping the same God, but we all claim that we are in truth. We all claim that we are in love, but we still separated in denomination and religion. So this couldn't be right. So like I told you, I went and I searched. I found out that English language, people, if you really want to learn, if you really want to educate yourself, go back to the root. You understand? Because English language, the way it just watered down every single information out there. Derek, English water it down. Every single thing that I know, I had to go back. I didn't even know that Sanskrit was a language. You understand? Like, I literally went way back there. And when I found out the meaning of these words that we speak in English language, I was blown away, Derek. I was blown away, and I could have not possibly get the understanding of this information just reading English. It could have never get it there, because certain language gives you the more root part of that word and the word and the more root meaning of that word. And this is why I said that when it comes to the heavens, I find out that heaven is just a different name for the sky, Derek. So when I read the Bible that I was taught, hold on. Christ said that the prince of the air is Satan. He said that the ruler of this world is Satan. He said that the heavens and the earth will pass away. So why am I sitting here saying, our Father who art in heaven? So God, are you in heaven or are you not in heaven? Because heaven is just sky, you know? So these questions came pouring in. And the more I seek, I went and tried to, I was working at Odyssey Aviation in the Bahamas, and I used to went and try to talk to my coworkers and be like, hold on, you know what you think about this? And none of them was really on the Bible and the Father like that. So I was like an outcast, but I always would try to get someone else's opinion. You know what they would tell me? You know what, don't dive into that. You know, that's just devil stuff. Don't read that. If it is not in the Bible, then, you know, don't even pay into that. They're pagans. Don't. So it's like, okay, I can't speak to you no more, because clearly you already brainwashed. They already get you. Where you are, I have already been. You know, there's just wall after wall after wall, and they would not tell you anything. Until I confronted a pastor once in my life, Derek, and I asked him this one question. I said that, Pastor, I don't mean to disrespect you. You know, I have a serious question. He's like, okay, go ahead, ask me. And I was like, you sure? You know, I don't want you to think, don't judge me, but this is just my question, what I have. And he's like, okay, I'm listening. I was like, what is the name of God? And he's like, God? He's like, Jehovah, you know, I am the great I am. And he went back and he said to Moses, and I live to talk. So I was like, okay, if that is his name, and it says that there is no one in the beginning with God, only with God. It's like, yes, there's no one in. That's how Jehovah works. He's so powerful. I was like, okay, I understand that. I was like, but how can the Father exist alone? So who was there to give him a name? And he paused, Derek. He paused. He's like, you know, the Father named himself, and you know, I said, like, how is this possible? Like, you know, you guys have the Big Bang story. And then in Genesis, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth and all of these things. I was like, I can't see that something so great and powerful could be put in a box. How can he possibly have a name? And I was like, our flesh supposed to be dead. This is sin. So how can a powerful name like that come out of my mouth? How is it possible? And Derek, he could not answer me. And he's like, what you read? I was like, I read the book of Enoch. I told him I read different religion. I read the Quran. I read all of these things, you know. And he's like, you know what? Don't listen to that. This is the house of the Father. It is in the Bible. And when he said that, Derek, that was the day when I stopped going to church, Derek. Because I realized what they were doing. They don't want you to go out and reach out and find the truth. They don't want you to investigate. And anytime you try to, they threaten you with hell. So I don't know, God who would threaten me and tell me he loves me.
And that's exactly why the church is the arm of the Antichrist, because Nobody even pays attention to Christ's warning when he said, if they tell you I'm over there or I'm over there, don't believe them, because the kingdom is within. Why would he say such a thing? And these are the things that I can ask pastors all day long. I could say, so if you're telling me that I can't be Christ, but Christ is telling me that I have to be, and he'll say, well, he's not telling that you have to be, that he has to be alive in you. I go, well, that's the same thing.
Yep.
If he's inside me, then he becomes me. And I need to become him, just like he was in the Father, and the Father was him. And he wanted me to have what he had. And they'll sit and dance around it all day long. They'll try to reason with it, and they'll try to force it back into their dogma. And I always just marvel at it. And then I'll ask them, and this is, you want to get kicked out of a church, all you do is go and ask the pastor, say, if Christ died and his death was the forgiveness of sin, then how did he forgive people of sin, and how were people's sins automatically forgiven before he died? And they'll sit and look at you, and they'll go cross-eyed for a second. Well, you just can't question it. Some things aren't meant for you to understand. And I go, wait a minute. This Father that promises me understanding and wisdom doesn't want me to understand. And this Father, when people say, oh, these are the mysteries of God, and God only reveals them to certain people. I go, wait a minute, which God? Because the Father hasn't blinded the eyes or the minds of the people, but the God of this age has. And even Paul tells you the truth about that in 1 Corinthians 4:4. He says, by the way, the God of this age, the little g God of this age, has blinded the minds of unbelievers. So it's incredible that even the ones, so if they want to defend, and by the way, anytime anybody wants to defeat Christ's words, when I bring this up, they always bring up Paul, because Paul uses both of them. Paul's job was to gather the church back into one under the banner of the Roman Empire. That was Paul's job. Paul was a double agent. So Paul has a whole bunch of spiritual truths, and then he has all of these new restrictions and laws and rules, which he tells you that he got you by guile, right? He's lied to you, and he's convinced you to come into these things. And you can go into these churches, and I'll tell you right now, I've had pastors threaten to call the police on me because I'm questioning them.
No, Derek, you see? Wow.
And I go, wait a minute. So it's against the law to question you. Funny that they tried to arrest Christ for the same thing. And somehow this is now new. And then people will tell me, oh, well, you're speaking new age. I go, let me just tell you something. There isn't anything new about what I'm talking about. And if what I'm talking about falls under the category of some new age teachings, well, let me tell you something. There's nothing new about that new age teaching. You can categorize me as whatever. Somebody said to me, they asked me if I, just the other day, they said, are you concerned, because I had interviewed David Icke on my show. And they said, are you concerned that David Icke isn't a Christian? I don't think that he's a Christian. And again, I always ask, I said, which one of the 33,000 plus denominations does he need to be? Right? Which version of the 14,000 versions and translations of the Bible do you need to read to be a Christian before you agree with them? And they basically say, well, all of them. Like, it doesn't matter as long as it's Christian. Wow. And this is a scary thing for me to just witness how people blindly are going to walk into these things, because, but it actually isn't surprising, because at the same time you begin to recognize, and I'm sure, Tevin, that you've recognized this, is that they want to be accepted.
Yep.
They want to be accepted and recognized. It doesn't matter which group. And this is kind of like the people which you're already experiencing. You're going to get my haters and you'll have 10,000 more haters.
I already got them.
Tomorrow, yeah, they're already there. You'll have all those haters coming, right? And they'll accuse you. And the crazy part is most of these haters think that they're somebody special, right? Yeah. Not recognizing that Christ is special inside of each one of us. But the biggest threats that I get are literally from people that think they are Jesus. And they're Jesus reincarnated. And this is the sad part about it, Tevin, though. And this is why I always try to stress that when this awakening comes, now you probably experienced this, where when you first came into this truth and it was such a massive deviation from everything you've ever heard or thought about, that it would be very easy to exalt yourself and go, I must be special to God. I'm unique in the whole world, right? And you want to take a name for yourself. Taking his name in vain means taking his name in vanity for yourself.
Yep.
Right? And I'm sure that you experienced that, because I experienced it. I was like, why am I seeing these things? Why on earth have you asked me to do these things? Why me? And every single time the response was the same. If not you, then who? And I was talking about this with Malia this morning, is that, my entire background, I get accused of all sorts of things today, which I'm sure you've seen.
Yep.
I'm getting accused of hacking people's YouTube channels. Like, number one, like I've got time, and like I really care enough. I only speak or communicate with these people, or try to, because I believe that they have been awakened. In other words, I believe the Father has actually spoken to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have seen the revelations that they've seen. But they have taken the wrong course, and they're going to lose their appointment. So I'm like, I feel compelled to reach out to them. But then at the same time, it just harkens back to Christ saying, don't throw your pearls to the pigs. And if they hear your truth, then let your peace come unto them. And if they don't hear your truth, then let your peace return to you, and shake off the dust from your boots and get out of town, right? Get away from them. And so I don't judge them individually, but it is very disheartening to see how people accept these things. And I've always encouraged everybody to stay away from accepting an identity, because the reality is everything, it speaks of in Revelation, the 7 spirits of God. Now, this isn't 7 different people, but it certainly is 7 different spirits of wisdom.
Thank you very much.
So, yes. So this is why people, and the funny thing is people go, oh, he thinks he's Enoch. Enoch was given to me in prison by all the prisoners, because I would talk to them and they would say, and other prisoners that had read the book of Enoch, they're like, you sound just like Enoch. So they gave me the name of Enoch, people. I didn't take that name. But the reality is I recognized as I was going, recognizing the wisdom of the movement of the stars and how Enoch was given those things. It's like that. The spirit of Enoch is a spirit of wisdom, a certain section of wisdom.
Yep.
Right? And so each one of these characters represent a spirit of a certain section of wisdom, the kingly wisdom, the kingdom wisdom, right? So Christ represented all of them. That's the whole point. He represented all of them and spoke them in such a simplistic way, but at the same time, more in depth. I marvel at his ability to say so much with so little. I'm blown away by it. And that's how I know it's authentic, because I can tell you, in my professional world, from a strategist standpoint, I've never met anybody that could do that.
No.
Never. I've never been anybody that could do that. So does that mean that there aren't people that are smart in the world? Certainly. Are there anybody that is equivalent to somebody that is given that? No. You have to have those spirits. There is no man physically capable in this world of knowing all of these things.
No.
Only that comes by the spirit that grants those things to you. And that's why wisdom is granted. It isn't learned. You can open 1,000 books and you can read these things. And if you don't have those spirits of understanding, you're never going to see it. And that's what I say, let him give it to you, because believe me, until he does, you will never grasp this stuff.
That's what I tell them, Derek, because in my path, in my journey, Derek, I've read the Bible enough times. And the things that comes to me now, I never understand, Derek. The scriptures that I read now, it is like it has a secret compartment inside the physical part of the scripture. So when you see it, you're seeing the double line, and you're seeing the physical part of the scripture, and you're seeing the spiritual part of it. So the meaning is behind the encryptions in the physical world. You understand? So how I was reading it back then, I couldn't understand it. Why? Because the Father didn't call me. But now that I read now, Derek, and I'm not like I say, all the power, the glory goes to the Father. I'm not gloating, I'm not boasting, I'm glorifying the Father. And every single thing that I read and He wants me to know it, I will see the hidden message in the encryption in the physical form, if you understand what I'm saying. And I wanted to touch on one other thing, Derek. I wanted to get your opinion on this. When it comes to religion today, and especially Christianity, you understand? Why is it that in Genesis, from Genesis, it only explains about physical creation? Why is it that everything that was created is everything that we can literally see with our physical eyes? You know? Why was nothing spiritual ever thought in the beginning of the Bible other than the physical? Because to my knowledge, Derek, I know that everything has to happen physical before, spiritual before it happened physical. Because the opposite of the flesh is the spirit. Without the spirit of the living Father, without the water that flows through us, we have no life. So why isn't it we are taught about the spiritual before the physical?
Yes, you know, the thing is like I've said, that everything that the Father creates, the enemy corrupts, right? So the enemy is the God of this physical world as shown in Scripture, right? Being able to offer the whole world and everything that's in it in this physical world. Now, this is the greatest illusion ever, because we are spiritual beings living in this physical existence. So everything that the enemy writes. So when people marvel at when I say, how can a lie be a lie and the truth be in the same line? It's because it's impossible for the enemy to tell you the lie, which is the physical, without telling you the truth of the spiritual, because everything of the spiritual is contained within the physical, because that's what he's corrupted. So when any statement is made, he has to, if I wanted to try to tell you, Tevin, if I wanted to try to say to you a lie, if I wanted to say the moon is orange, it's not white, right? I've told you a lie and the truth in the same line, because I have to tell you the truth in order to tell you the lie. When I say it's not white, it's orange, I have to disclose the opposite of what I'm saying in order for it to make sense as to why I'm even telling you it's orange.
Correct.
Do you see what I'm saying? So the enemy has to tell you the truth in order to convince you of a lie. And this physical world is the lie that we lead, that we live in, that we lead. And once you see this crystal clear, it's terrifyingly easy to watch how it takes place. I can hear somebody speak, and it's remarkable. There's a guy, and I apologize if he's watching that I haven't been able to get back to you. I definitely will. His name is Jeff, and he is he's a forensic analyzer for polygraphs, and also a forensic. I guess you would call him a forensic tactician, and how he analyzes the statements by criminals when he's questioning them.
Okay.
And he came to me and he said, what I do is very unique, and he lives kind of a life where he's withdrawn from people because he witnesses the lie in what they say all the time. Right? It doesn't matter who it is. It could be family. And he said, when I watched your video and you said that their lie and the truth are in the exact same words, he goes, it blew my mind, because that's exactly what I do. That was his skill, right? And he had been a Christian his whole life. And he goes, I had never applied my forensic ability to the Bible until I watched you. And he goes, and once I applied my own skill to reading it, he goes, it just was bang. It was all there.
Yep.
And so when you read that, when you read in Genesis that it's all physical, but like I said, it's also spiritual, because before, when it was that the reason why Eve was taken from Adam, when people go, oh, Eve came from Adam. Yes, but recognize this for a second. Think about this. How could he possibly take a female from the male unless the female was within the male?
Exactly.
There was no male and female until she was pulled from him. And that again is the spiritual separation. That is why, that entire idea is why we're broken. That entire concept is, they're explaining to you, he's telling you in the physical form because he needs you to think that there's a physical action. But at the same time, if you just apply it in the spiritual form of who you actually are, and you're absent of this flesh. So when you and I are absent of our flesh, we can see the spiritual. And so the spiritual reality is our fall came when he withdrew the female, the feminine from us, and he separated those two. And then we became these physical entities that he has created. This skin is what was created by him. This skin only exists. Now, this is the great part about quantum theory, which is being proven not to be so much of a theory anymore, is that even Einstein said that nothing exists until it is observed.
Yep.
Right. So we are co-creators, which is how the enemy can corrupt the Father's creation, because the enemy can't create anything. He can, if you hand him, that's why in the Nagamani text, he's called the blind demiurge. He's the blind God, right?
Blind God.
He's the blind, stupid God. He can't create anything. He's a genius in manipulating the Father's works. Absolute genius. But if I handed him a blank sheet of paper and a pen, he couldn't draw me something new. Right? But if I handed him a piece of paper and drew a smiley face, he could turn that smiley face into a frown face. Right? So he's incapable of doing anything. And then you recognize that he can only manipulate and alter the perception of truth through man, through us, our mind. And that is the prison of the mind. And that's why that you've seen Christ depicted with having this halo over his head. That is the elevated consciousness of who he is, which is why the symbolism of placing the crown of thorns back on his head is putting his mind back into prison, that he's not allowed to think differently. That's the enemy. That's how he would do that. He will scare you. And that crown of thorns also represents the church, also represents hell, all of these things, this damn fire and damnation. The lie of sin is the biggest lie ever told.
Yep.
Right? How can you be guilty of something that you didn't create? The enemy created sin and accuses you of that sin. Wow. And so when people go, and when people say to me, oh, I need to be able to, I need to get forgiveness. I need to earn forgiveness, or I need to earn something. There is no earning it. Forgiveness was granted the second the enemy corrupted it. The Father grants forgiveness. The difference is you actually have to accept the forgiveness. So this is where the misinterpretation of accepting Jesus or accepting Christ into your heart, you have to accept forgiveness. But that acceptance comes with a far more difficult thing for people to do, which is repent. Repentance comes when you are cleansed of it. Right? Turning away from it. That's what repentance means. Turning away from that. So when you are in Christ, you turn away from the things that prevented you from seeing Christ before. You automatically do. You accept his forgiveness. So when you came into these truths, did you feel that release, like you weighed 1,000 pounds lighter than you did? You didn't realize how much you weighed until you got rid of it.
Exactly, Derek. When I came into these understanding, I actually felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Why? Because I no longer live in the opinions of others. And when I say others, others, the powers that are in this system, you know, it that when I say don't have a don't care attitude, it's not like don't have a don't care attitude towards people, don't show love. I mean in a don't care attitude as you know what? It doesn't matter if you say my shirt on back and front. It's just a shirt. This is man made. I really don't care. So it doesn't matter if you say my socks as a whole. So the silly things that we fight against, the silly things that we go against one another, I felt that they mean nothing. We live in a world of matter that doesn't really matter. And when I found that out, I was liberated. I was free because I was like, these were the things that was literally beating me down every day because I always needed validation from other people. I always try to fit in with other people. And when I don't fit in, then I accuse myself. What is wrong with you? Why you had to look like this? Why you had to put that on? And we have thousands of people today, Derek, that is suffering from this self-identification. And like I did a video back and I was explaining it, people want to know when they die because you know as we get older and we get into the system and we go into the school system, college, and the work system, we already get this pollution, this doctrine. So as we continue to live, as we continue to work, we get up every morning, Derek, and be like, you know what? Why even doing this? You know? And then people get ask themselves more questions. What is the sense of all of this? You know, why is this happening? Why I feel like something is missing? And then when I was young, I used to be happy. Like, what happened to me? Why have I lost myself? And like I've told people, remember, when you came into this world, and this is why Christ said, you know what, ask a child what the kingdom of the Father is like. And he will tell you, you were that child. You know, you have yet to identify yourself with this flesh. So when you walk around in the house, you don't care if you don't have a shirt on, you don't care who come, the baddest and meanest man or female can enter your home, and if you have a little child, that child will run and hug them, Derek, because it is all love. It is no judgment. So as you grow up into the system, and as you get a certain age, okay, it's time for you to go to preschool. It's time for you to know these things. It's time for you to go to high school, junior school. Yes, you start to get indoctrinated now. And the higher you get, now you're in a school with different personalities, different religions. So now that they made you identify with this flesh, now you have to find where you fit in this flesh. Not already know that you was already fitting in. When you came in this world, you was already just what you need to be. You know, you had your love, you had your excitement, you had your energy, but now they train you to identify with this flesh. And the minute you let go of the Father and identify with this flesh, this is when the spirit dies inside of you. This is when the spirit sleeps in you, slumbers in you, because you are no longer yourself. Because the system gave you a name, they gave you a job, they gave you a character. The person, and this is what I found out, the person who I was only constructed by my environment, Derek. The people that were around me, my influence. So when you really sit down and think about it, you have to ask yourself, is this really me? Why do I drink? Because I was hanging around people who drink. Why do I smoke? Because I was hanging around people who I smoke, who used to smoke. Why do I go out and party and try to play big shot? Because these are the people that was depositing this type of lifestyle, this type of doctrine, just making this character. So when you really look at it, you're not being yourself. The village you lived in, they mold this character. The society you lived in, they mold this character. So now you are actually a prison of other people's opinions. So you be who they want you to be. And when you come into this truth and you realize that who you thought that you knew yourself, you thought that you knew what you were doing, and everything that you accomplished to that point of being this person, or back then for me being Tevin when I was in the world, when you really, and this is why Jesus told the guy, you know, if you won't follow me, give up your riches. When the Father calls you and you reach to that pinnacle, you reach to that top, and you like, wow, all this time, everything that I accomplished, the house, the cars, everything that I have, it was in me there. This is not what I wanted. You know, when I was young, I loved to draw. But now I'm not doing nothing maintaining the drawing. I'm doing construction, you know. When I was young, I loved to sing. When I was young, I wanted to be a speaker. So these things and these dreams and these passions that we have while when we are young, this is what the system suppress. They don't want you to be yourself. Because when you be yourself, when you do what you feel, when you do what you were born to do, no, you're crazy. Don't do that. You know, everybody is doing this. Why can't you be normal? This is what they like to say, Derek. Why can't you be normal? Why you can't do what normal kids do? Why you gotta be locked up in your room and read? And why you gotta do this? Why you gotta no? Come on, party. You're 21. Go drink and have a nice time. Our parents, unwillingly in ignorance, and I would say ignorance there because clearly they don't know any better. Because if they knew, I would never made the mistakes that I did. So, in their ignorance, they pushed you out to the enemy, Derek. They pushed us out. And as the Father calls us, you have nothing to do other than break down and tears there. Because when you look back and you see the destruction in your ignorance that you have done, the contribute that you have given into people's life, where it could have affect them in a negative way, it may, yes, it will put you in the depression, but like you say, Derek, this is how when you come into the Father, you know that the Father is love and the Father is forgiveness. You did not create this world. You were born into it, but you did not create it. So there is no reason for you to feel guilty because you were in ignorance. And this is why I tell people, when you really look at it, there's no such thing as evil. There is only error because ignorance of the Father is the gateway of all evil. Every single thing rooted from ignorance. Ignorance is the root. And this is why the Father said that there has been a tree planted outside of me. And that will be uprooted because everything in this world is the fruit of that tree. You understand me? So if a blind God came down here, how can he create a race of people that see if he's blind? So everything that he creates will be blind there. Now he have his way, like you told me the other day, Brother Derek. When you look at what he has created, yes, he has to be respected in the things and how he manipulates you. He is a genius at what he does. Even though he's blind, he still have his way of doing things. Like you said, look at this place. Look at the cars, Derek. Look at the technology. Look at everything in this world. You understand me? So, he deserves a little hand clap. But at the end of the day, when you walk in this truth, you know that you have the power to trample over that. You can enjoy, and this is where people get mixed up in. And like you said, Brother Derek, when you ask me, hey, Brother T, are you a Christian? I cannot answer that because I don't know what your definition of a Christian is. So before I put myself in the hole, and label myself, what is your definition? And then I'll be able to come around and answer your question. You know what I'm saying? So, because you are living in the Father, Derek, because you are a Christian, people believe that you cannot have a nice life. You cannot have an enjoyment life. Oh, Derek, you're a Christian. Why are you going that way? Why are you going that way? Oh, you ain't supposed to be doing blasphemy. You talking about this and you're doing that. Hold on, let's wait a minute, people. Everything in this world, even though it was made in ignorance, remember, God created every single thing. The Father created everything. So there is good in every bad you see because we live in a world of duality. So if I want to enjoy the goodness of a tree, if I want to enjoy the goodness of a movie, if I want to enjoy the goodness in a car, I'm going to do it. You understand me? So this is where we separate things. I can care less. And I had a friend, Derek, where he was really upset when I said this, but I meant it in a really nice, loving way. But in the flesh, it came out in a different way. If someone comes to me, Derek, and they be like, okay, Kingdom of Truth, I just lost my best friend, or I just lost somebody in my family who I really love. And me personally, with my knowledge and me being in the Father, what I know to be true, I'll be like, okay, I understand that, but don't worry, don't cry, don't worry about it. Continue to seek the Father, continue to live in love and do what you got to do because your partner or your brother, whoever died, they're not dead, so there is no reason for you to cry. Don't worry about it. If they put the body inside a viewing point, I mean, if you want to go to pay respect, okay, but that body is dead. That was dead before that came in here. So when you go inside the funeral home and you're crying over this body, you're in hell. You're not crying over the person that you thought because he was only occupying this flesh. That's not him. So when you mourn, your mourn is in vain because you're mourning over someone who that was never was. You know what I'm saying, Derek? So
Not only that, they're most likely closer to you after they're dead than they were
exactly
alive.
than it was when they was living. So when you explain this truth to them, they will look at you, oh, Derek, why you gotta be so cold-hearted? Or Kingdom of Truth, why you speaking this? You're so mean. You don't have no soul. No, I'm actually telling you the truth. There's no reason to cry. Like you said, like it's written, allow the dead to bury the dead. The people who are dead in the Father, in the Spirit, they're just as dead as the flesh they were in. So allow the dead people to bury the dead. Celebrate with the living. There's no need to mourn over a dead body. And in the system, Derek, we spend money to come in this world. And we still got to spend money, Derek, to come out this world. This is the world that we didn't ask to come in. So we have to go to the hospital, have a hospital bill. Our parents have all these bills for us coming in this world now, Derek. And when we leaving and so-called dead, we still have to pay to get buried, Derek. So now it should open up anybody's eyes there. Common sense to show you that something is wrong with this world. Why do I have to pay to enter and pay to exit? So show you what it's all about. It's all about the money. They don't care. You have loved ones in the hospital, Derek, and as long as you don't have the money to keep that machine pumping while they're alive, they're pulling the plug, Derek. So they don't value life. The enemy would never value life because he know you have eternal life. So as long as he can keep you in that mental cage, so you can submit yourself to death, you will always keep coming back here over and over and over again. As long as he can get you to fail, and fear is what's crippled you, and you surrender your power over to this death, this illusion of death, then the enemy will just take control of you, Derek. So what I want to ask you is, how do you view the system that we live in when it comes to separation? How does the system today separate us as spiritual beings? And I mean, in whether you black or you white, wherever you are in the world, what are the methods of the system we live in today? How does it separate us as spiritual beings, Derek?
Say that last part again. It just cut off.
How do the system today? What are the system methods as separating us as spiritual beings?
Oh, it's endless. But a perfect example will be if you look at the cathedrals, starting with the Roman Catholic Church. Look at the cathedrals, right? The amazing thing is that I went to St. Peter's Cathedral. I went to Rome, and I looked at it, and all of the people were saying, "You just know this has to be God's. Look how beautiful it is." That physical manifestation of beauty, the mere fact that anybody can take their mind and think somehow only God could build something like this. Well, let me tell you something. The God of this world will make sure that there is a temple built in his honor and that it is covered in gold and has his symbolism and ghouls and goblins and all of that. And if you've ever gone to the Vatican and seen that, it's a terrifyingly evil place. Wow. It's gorgeous, but it's terrifyingly evil. And it honors nothing but the recreation system of the physical system that we live in. This reincarnation, Vesca Pisces system. That's why every single dome, everything is shaped like the vulva, like the everything of the sexual reproduction system. Everything's about the mother. Everything's about the V. Everything is about the reincarnation system that we live in. It is all honoring the God of this world, every bit of it. And the amazing thing is, that's how they separate you from the spiritual. At every single turn, everything is going to take you, even money, even the celebrity of movies and the honor of idol worship. It's all about idol. Everything idol is worshiping anything, convincing people to love their cell phone, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is a distraction of the spirit, everything. And that's why I always suggest if anybody really wants to get in touch with the spiritual self, that's why I've suggested go out to create a prison cell, just like you were talking about, being by yourself, being quiet, closing yourself off. Go in your garage, create a space, put a bed down, make sure you're warm so you're not, freezing your butt off and try to remove the distractions, have some food out there for you to eat. but take some time away from everything. Tell everybody, you know, I'm going to go away for a few days. I'm going to be by myself. Shut off your phone, remove it, cut yourself off from everything, and don't think about anything. And in that, you can begin to hear the spiritual self inside of you speak. This is like Elijah going, you know, seeing the pillar of fire, looking for God and going, that's not God. Then seeing the pillar of smoke and going, that's not God. And then sits quietly and listens and hears this quiet voice and goes, that's God, right? Mm-hmm. Recognizing what truly is the Father, you cannot. Here's the thing. It is a quiet voice. The only reason it's quiet is because the enemy is screaming at decibel levels. You might not physically hear it, but the distractions of this world. Shut off the news, turn off your TV, stop reading articles, start anything, stop focusing on government and politics and distractions and football. You realize how ridiculously pointless, and I mean pointless. What? So your team wins the Super Bowl. So what do you get for that? What does that team winning this? What does that do? I mean, you have to ask yourself these simple questions. What do I get for that? How does that actually help me? What, it gives me a better conversation at work the next day?
Yep, that's all it is.
Like, it's everything. Everything is pointless. And so you stop seeking the pointlessness elements of this world, and you seek only what is of true value. And then you begin to recognize how little true value exists in this physical world. Once you recognize how little exists, then it's funny when you're seeking all that value, just like Christ saying, you know, the person that finds the pearl of great price, and he sells everything he has and he buys that pearl, right?
Yeah.
That is when you find the Father and sells everything he has. That's the parable. Recognizing, get rid of all of it. Now, I'm not talking to sell your house and throw your stuff and sit in the dirt. For some people, that's what they're called to do, so do that. But what I'm talking about is selling the importance, the value, getting rid of things that you think. Getting rid of something of value doesn't mean I have to throw it away. I just have to stop recognizing it as valuable, right? Exactly. So if I've got a car that I don't need, get rid of it. If I've got a car that serves my needs and isn't pretty, well, then I begin to recognize that I appreciate what it actually gives me.
Yeah. Right.
Like it gets me from here to there, and I appreciate that. I don't care about the color. I don't care how comfortable the seat is. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. Everything of my past life is dead. Otherwise, I would be doing, if, you know, people think that I'm doing this for money. Tevin, money for what? But yet they exalt me of having all of this technological prowess and knowing all of this stuff. Don't you think that I could make a lot more money in technology?
Yep.
Like, I've abandoned all of those things. They don't even hear their own ignorance, right? And when you talk about ignorance, what is ignorance? It's willfully ignoring what is already shown to you. The Father has given all of this wisdom to you already. It's already in you, which is why the vast majority of people that are here in this chat room right now, we've got 523. The reason why they're here listening is because this was already in them. When they heard me speak it, they went, oh my gosh. The same way that you were like, confirmation, and becomes permission, right? It's a permission to understand these things. And then you can actually witness and have fellowship with people that are of like heart and of like mind and are ultimately building the body of Christ. The body of Christ is being built right now. If anybody doubts what time we are in as far as end times, all of the physical prophecies are being fulfilled. The third temple going to go up in Jerusalem. All of this stuff. That's the enemy at work, people. He's building these things. You've got military choppers and military exercises over major cities like the city of Los Angeles just last week, right? All of this is preparation for what is coming. All of it is preparation for tribulation, because the reality is the enemy and the Father, they have to work together, because the enemy is also made by the Father.
Yep, you're right.
So the enemy operates under the guise of the Father. When the Father is moving, this is why the enemy will rise a standard against Christ. Christ will rise a standard against the enemy. There is no such thing as one lifting without the other lifting. When the Father is rising, the enemy will rise. This is how it functions. There isn't any other way. And those that are blind are willfully blind. They are ignorant. This isn't an insult or an accusation against them. It's just a statement of a condition of mankind. They are being willfully ignorant and ignoring everything. Why? Because they're crawling back into this world. They're terrified to jump out of this world because they've invested everything in their life into nothing. And that's where I got to. I got to a place where I realized I am working my ever-loving guts out. I'm a man that worked 20 hours a day. I'm a man that had 10 different companies going at the same time, sitting on the board of directors of 6 of them, constantly on advisory calls, sat as a board of advisors on 30 companies all at one time. I was constantly advising, constantly developing stuff, spending time away from my family. I'd get on a plane. I'd fly to England. I'd fly to Europe. I'd spend 3 weeks at a time negotiating a deal, fly home for 2 days, and then fly back to England. I spent 350,000 miles a year in the air.
Wow.
For what? For what? What did it earn me? What did I get? Nothing. Because it's all nothing. And that's kind of the recognition that I went through. I was like, if I die, what did I get for it? Nothing. My kids got something. Well, now the something that they think they have now is a bigger nothing than it was. I've given them nothing of value. Everything that I'm doing today, everything that I talk about today is the only thing of value I've ever done. So to me, my past life is dead because I offered and created nothing of true value. The true value that I am participating in today, through the Father's guidance, through what he asks me to do, this is the most valuable thing I've ever done in my life.
Likewise, Derek, likewise.
This is the most valuable thing. Everything else was complete crap. I helped the enemy build his systems. And that's why I can help tear them down. And that's why when I asked the Father, Father, why me? And he was like, if not you, then who?
And who?
I know how the slime ball systems work. I know they function. I can understand. So when people go, oh, you're hacking my YouTube account. First of all, just to educate folks, YouTube isn't hackable. The only thing that is hackable is your own password and your own system. YouTube is not hackable, folks, just to let you know. Otherwise, political parties would be hacking opposition political parties' websites and their YouTube channels and taking everything down. It would be a complete disaster. Trust me, I can tell you right now that it is far, far more complicated than that. It's one incredible infrastructure, primarily because it's a decentralized cloud-based system. So it doesn't function as far as hacking somebody's account.
So I want to touch back.
Now, can the enemy hack your account? He certainly can. He could do whatever he wants. He is the prince of the power of the air, right? We're on the air right now. This is all his. So he can certainly hack your account, but I certainly can. But the remarkable thing, go ahead.
I wanted to add on to something you said, Derek, when it comes to the attacks that you get. It is so, like I said, Derek, you didn't even have to tell me about the attacks. And when you told me, and I went on, I said, you know what, let me search Derek. Let me see what's up with Derek. So I did, I typed it in, they have their little information there. And I sit down and I watch and I listen to what people say. And I watch them call you names. I watch them throw dots at you. And Derek, I sat down. You know what I said? This man is doing it right. He got this under control. Why? It goes back to what you said. We're living in a world of duality. So if you're not doing something right and you don't get a response, then what you're doing is wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So the matter of fact, we have this saying in the Bahamas where we say that dog do not bark at parked car. You know what that means? When the car is parked, the dog will not bark there. But when the car decides to move, you will hear the dog barking at the car. So the fact that you're doing the Father's work, you're doing the things that they don't want to do. You're straying away from the sheep of this doctrine, and the threats and the jeers that they throw at you. You should be very proud of yourself, Derek, why you're doing it right. Because if you wasn't, then you would have no feedback there, no whatsoever. You are a famous man when it comes to the body of the Father. The enemy know you. They know you, Derek. They probably got your name on a bullseye chart in their room with a stick on it. This man is trouble. They know you. You are well known. And like you say, when you come into the realm of the Father, you come to know the Father, there is a different, way more drastic war going on. So this is why you delete yourself from this flesh. Because as long as you're open to the spiritual world, you get to see the big picture there. Now you see the enemy all over the world where he stays, what he does, his tricks. So you no longer have, Derek, I'm pretty sure that you don't have time to worry about certain physical things that you used to do. You don't have time to care about physical, earthly things. I'm pretty sure that 24 hours a day, Derek, the majority of the thing that you do is spiritual. And I'm sure that you could back me up on that. I'm pretty sure it's spiritual. And I'm, like you said, as you came into the spot, every single thing you do, it was more, you got a more profit other than what you did as you was inside of the physical. You are more profitable now. And I'm pretty sure, like the Father rewards me or anybody who Christ dwells in, he rewards us differently. And as you speak this message, Derek, and as you continue to walk in this path that you walk, hasn't the Father been there for you? Have you ever wanted need for anything, Derek? Have you ever had to ask for everything, Derek? Every single thing that you want, every single thing that your heart desire, I bet you get it there. And you don't even know how you get it. You don't even have to ask.
Of course.
Before that thought came to your mind, you get it.
Of course. But see, here's the difference. When you have the prosperity gospel of America right now talking about, oh, no, the God wants you to be rich. God wants you to have a jet. God wants you to have. No, he wants you to have the desires of your heart. But when you're in him, the desires of my heart is to meet someone like you. The desire of my heart is to wake up and hear him say, good morning. Exactly. The desire of my heart is to just have exactly what I need to exist and to do what he needs me to do. The desire of my heart is having what I need to execute on his plan. It doesn't matter whatever he needs me to have, he'll provide it. I don't have to ask. It's remarkable is that, people, they go, well, how do you exist? Well, right now, I'm at on my sister's property here. I live in this trailer. Malia has a home back in Florida that we don't live at. And, but we don't have much. My sister basically covers this stuff. Malia and I, we both cover the trailer itself and cover the power and help my sister with that. But we don't need anything else. We don't want anything else. I've got a little $1,200 car, right? I don't want anything more. But if I do need something, the funny thing is it comes. The second, like my computer blew up and I was like, well, my computer blew up. And the next day I had a donation that allowed me to buy the computer. It just happens. I don't have to ask for this stuff. People supply the things that they need. And the amazing thing is anybody that has donated anything to me that I didn't need, I immediately dole it out to other people, right? Because if I don't need it, I'm not storing it up. So I immediately, I'll support another channel that's out there talking the truth. I'll and then I'll come and tell people about these things individually and go, oh, I support them. But other channels that I know, other people that I know, they'll go, what the heck? Why did I get a donation from you? Right? It's because somebody gave me a donation. I didn't need it all. I needed some of it, but I didn't need it all. So I'm donating that to you too. So, that's how this functions. Mm-hmm. That is how this functions. Like I said, we're going to get you a laptop, right? Because You're right now, you're on an iPad. Your microphone could be better. You've got a message to give. You're going to
Yep.
be supplied with those things. Don't worry about that. You'll get that.
Yep.
Right. So I'll see to it. And because if I get something, I'll make sure you have it. That's what I told you. I said, don't even worry about it. You're going to get that. Right. It's not that I've got this massive bank account or anything. It's just that I know that it comes. So it's remarkable. You know, he does truly provide for you whenever and however you need it. And again, and it always has to do with the desire of your heart. As long as the desire of your heart is to do his will, then he'll give you everything you need to do to execute upon that. When he doesn't, you have to question the desire of your heart. Well, Father, was that really yours or was that mine?
Derek, I tell you not walking, to be honest with you. Like I said, I'm 26, and this is the best peace, the best love I have ever had in my entire life, Derek. Ever since I came into the show tonight, I made a decision to stop running from who I am. Flawless, Derek. Like you said, you don't have to ask. He already knows what's on your heart. He already knows what you need. You understand? It is already given. Derek, it's mind-boggling when I really think about it, because to know how long it was before I ever even got in trouble how I used. Like you said, the only trouble I would get into, and it's not me saying anything, is people throwing rocks and stones at me. You know, calling me names, you this, you that. That'd be the only confrontation I get in there. But other than that, peaceful. And this is why I know, because I am a witness of it. The Father says, in him you will find rest. There is no need for you to surround yourself with certain deadly things of this world. As long as you surround yourself with the Father, no. When I tell you no, if it is not your time, Derek, it will not happen, because the Father sees to it. Now, this is how I learned how it works. For the Father to show that he is the Father, he will not stop the enemy from taking an arrow and trying to aim it at you, Derek. He will allow, like you said, as the Father rise, the enemy rise. He's going to let him yuck his shiny arrow and Derek, aim it at you and let him go, And when the arrow comes and they try to penetrate that shield, what happens? It splits in half. And when you see the enemy tries to attack you and you see that the Father deals with it, you just be like, what? That's a daddy. That's the hey. I love my Father. Every day I go crazy. I go crazy when it happens, and you are a front row seat witness of the things that happens. And this is why you, my brother, are so rooted. This is why you, my brother, are so.
Well, it's crazy. I think my internet connection. Well, I'll tell you, hey, you know, it's so amazing. So when I first started this, I said to the Father, I just want to be left alone. So, you know, I don't want any females in my life. I just want to be left alone. Right. I didn't want any distractions. Father, just let me do my work. And he said, that wasn't up to me. And so I'm expecting, you know, I'm like, okay, well, so you're going to bring somebody into my life. And sure enough, just like the enemy raising up a standard, just Christ raises up a standard, the enemy raises up a standard. All of a sudden, I have these women coming to me. Oh, I'm your soulmate. All of these things. And I'm telling you right now, what I got from even having conversations with them was pure evil. So the enemy raises up a standard. Trust me, he pure evil. And that's why Malia coming into my life, it was amazing. I only had to hear 2 words from her. And I went, uh-oh, that's her. Right? Uh-oh, that's her. And it's incredible. Why? Because she spoke just like me going and listening to your channel. She spoke me back to me, not because of things that I had said, but she spoke things that I've already known that I've never said. And I immediately knew, right? And I immediately knew. Wow. And it's incredible how the enemy's devices work, though, outside of that. It was just remarkable for me to watch. And, you know, to this day, you know, Malia, I didn't ask her to, she just did. She gave up everything and moved out here to live in a trailer with me in the desert, right? So, and that's a separation from everything in her life. And she, it's still not easy, but I recognize the turmoil and how difficult it is. I'm very, very sympathetic and supportive, but this is how we have to be in building this body and understanding. I'm very cautious about what I have in my life and have around me, because the enemy is hard at work, right?
Yep.
He wants to distract me, shut me up, and I'm like, if there's a wall, I'll advise, I'll speak, I'll talk to them. I'm not getting too close to anything, because the enemy, even through people that think that they're in the Father, they'll get used, and I see it, and it's very difficult. It's it's very tough.
That's why you have to be, like you said, you have to be really careful there, because people will claim that they're in the Father. Like you say, and it goes back to the scripture, and it is written like Christ said, when I speak, my sheep hears my voice. And this is where it is so amazing there. Like when you come to the truth is so simple there. Tell me, why do we argue over meaningless things like whether Jesus were black or white? Why do we argue if the world is round or flat? Why do we have these meaningless arguments? And if we go back to the root of these arguments, where do they come from there? Where do the doctrine comes from? It comes from the source. And people have failed to realize this truth there. If Jesus was white, was he still going to be Jesus or not? Was it going to change anything there? If he was black, is it going to change him being who he is there? If the world was round or flat, the same thing that is going to happen to the world, like the Father says, is going to pass away. Whether flat or round, is it going to stay here there? So the hardest thing I have learned there to get people to do is think. Their mind.
But see, everything comes down to, so you talked about earlier about what separates us from the spiritual. That's exactly it. The division, creating the idea about something that is physical in people's mind that must be important. Let's, just like the flat earth subject, let's say Jesus was black. You know what? Based on the time and based on what I know historically, he most likely was.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? So to argue about it is, again, yet another exercise in futility. An exercise in futility means when you arrive at an answer or it's proven to be the truth, if it's a physical truth, it's irrelevant. It's futile because it results in no advancement of anything. The reality is people look at the tribe of Judah, which Christ was from, which is why I can say to you, he probably was black, dark skin, because the tribe of Judah is turning out not to be so much of what people think Jews are today, which is precisely why it says in Revelation, for they say that they are Jews, but they lie. The dispersion of the Jewish people was so dispersed the globe over. Nobody even knows who's Jewish. They haven't been able to track this anymore. They don't even know the origination of the bloodlines anymore. They have no clue. But I can tell you one thing, the traditions of the people, you've got the Cherokee people, which their writing is very much ancient Hebrew. You've got the Cherokee people that their language itself sounds a whole lot like Aramaic. In fact, many words are exactly the same. Most likely the tribe of Judah. Then you also have a portion of them, of the Cherokee, which are in the area, which they went through a dispersion through Africa and then over to Jamaica. And they look very much Cherokee, but they have a different set of hair, different things, very much have a language that sounds a whole lot like Aramaic. So if you want to find the tribe of Judah, I can tell you right now, it's not some guy wearing a black robe in Israel with a white beard going, not him, right? So does it matter in the physical form? No. But the spiritual side of things, where did the spirit go within these people? Because in this system, the dicing and splicing of spirit, of soul, I've got news for you. According to all the scriptures, including the ancient scriptures, there are a limited amount of souls. Those souls are being dispersed and chopped up. So you have a million of you. They don't know they're of you.
No, they
right?
don't know.
They don't know they're of you. But my sheep will hear my voice.
Mm-hmm.
They are all part of you. There requires the elect, the 144,000 original souls, which will rise up. Somebody from within those souls will rise up. They will be the elect. They will call their sheep. That's why the 144,000 are risen up and saved. And that's why the multitudes come after the fact. Because the 144,000 represent every single soul on earth. And this is why the enemy's devices, and this is why the enemy's world is coming to an end.
It does. Yep.
It comes to an end.
And
So
I wanna add on to what you said just now about us not that we not knowing all of us are one. I want to give a little illustration like I always just give. We are in this big, let's say that our spirit, Derek, we're in this big empty room, this big empty room, this space. And what the enemy does to, like he only could manipulate and change the way you perceive things. So what he does, and I think this could get some people to understand this, what he does is he would build a wall. Now remember, this is just an empty room. He would build a wall to separate one part of that room into two parts of that room. And then he would take another wall and put it in the middle. And he would separate another portion of the room. And he would take another wall and he would separate another portion of this room. So here we have four sides of the same space, but identifying as a single space. You follow me, people? So we have a cross in the middle of this empty room, and each one of these spaces are identifying as single space. And this is what the enemy does. Not knowing that they all are a part of one single space. You see why I love the daddy, Derek? You hear that? This is what the enemy does. But when you walk into this truth, and this is what they don't want, Derek, when you walk into this truth and you chisel a crack in that wall, Derek, and you look over inside that human, you look over inside that brother, you look over inside that sister, and you see the same thing that you got in this room, you realize that, hold on, all this time I had a brother and sister over there, I thought that was a whole different compartment of me. And you get upset, like the father said. You get upset when you find out this truth, but when you come to the truth, you marvel because you realize that every single part of this room, you all are one. And they don't want you to tear down this wall what the enemy put. And when you break this brick wall down, what the enemy put to separate us, Derek, the space will come together and it will be more powerful than it ever was. And this is why the Father is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He is everything, but in nothing at the same time. And this is like you said, when with your friend, when she said what she said, you say, that's all. There was nothing. She don't need to show you nothing. She don't need to say nothing. Why? Because when the truth speaks, that's how you react. You, like you said, you don't move unless the Father tell you move. You don't speak until the Father tell you speak. You already trained, Derek, to hear that voice. So when that voice comes to you, no question asked. You understand me? And this is where people get confused because the enemy, with the wells in some people, try to understand you or try to attack you. They can't understand how you operate. You can't understand how the Father operates if you're not a part of the daddy system there. How you want to understand how the daddy works? You can't. If you ain't a part of the family, if you're not a part of the body, then brother, I'm sorry. This is why he's not talking to you. You know, I know he is of love, but if you're not in the love, then you cannot get our love because you're going to take our love and corrupt it. You're going to change it. You're going to try to manipulate the things that we say, the truth that we speak. So until you come to know yourself, to know that this wall that is separate, the system put between all of us to separate all of us, when you realize that you're seeing that same empty space over there and it's here, then you'll be in her no fear to break down this wall, Derek. And from I knew that, Derek, it was a wrap. It was a wrap, Derek. It was a wrap.
Well, I see my beautiful Malia has entered the chat room. So, hello, love.
Hello, Malia, Boss Lady.
So we'll make sure that we all get to chat together, because I'm sure that Malia will love talking with you as well. I wanted to we've had well over 500 people in this room for the better part of the chat. I want to make sure that we leave something for another show, because I want to make sure that you and I try to do something on a consistent basis. And when you learn something new, I definitely want to make sure that we get to talk about it here.
No problem,
So,
Derek.
yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming. Says yes. So Malia says yes. She can't wait to talk. So we'll make sure that we have this conversation and have others. We'll bring whatever we speak about. So when you have something on your heart, you pick up the phone, call me, and we'll figure out times and hey, that's something that we have to bring to the people, right? So
Okay,
we'll know. So I wanted to just thank everybody hours now, because it'll the analytics, and I understand that it's difficult for people to watch the entire show. So I want to make sure that we respect that, and that we can separate these things into segments that allows them to absorb it, because this is also the meat. It's the bread, but it's the meat. For so many people have spent so much time accepting the milk. They want to hear what they want to hear, not what they need to hear.
Nope.
And what we're talking about is what they need to hear.
Yep.
And so as these truths come to fruition, as they're awakened in you, as you come, please allow everybody to hear it. It's you've got your channel, and anybody, if you haven't already, subscribe to Kingdom of Truth channel. The description or the link to Kingdom of Truth channel is in the description box. So you'll see it there. And also I have altered my Twitter account to a Global Witness account. So if you want to follow me at Twitter, I'll probably have a little bit more pieces that I'll put up there. So go ahead and follow me on that Twitter account if you haven't. Make sure you subscribe to this young man's channel. Father is alive in him, big time. So thank you, Tevin. I appreciate you coming. I love you very much, brother.
I love you too, brother. So it's a pleasure. And
we'll do this again very soon.
Okay, brother, no problem.
All right, stick around so I can say goodbye to you here. To everybody else, all the moderators, thank you in the chat room. It looks like it was a very nice flowing chat room. I appreciate you making sure that you just keep all of the hate out. It's not about people disagreeing. I don't have any problem with people disagreeing, but hate, there is no place for that. I love you all very much, and we'll talk to you soon.